call it a settling of accounts. Premier Doug Ford has named former BC Premier Gordon Campbell to head an independent inquiry into Ontario's finances under the previous Liberal government, which had a public disagreement with Auditor General Bonnie Lysyk over the size of its annual deficit. An independent inquiry into Ontario's finances headed by former British Columbia Premier Gordon Campbell, shown in 2010, will report its findings by August 30, Premier Doug Ford announced Tuesday. Jonathan Hayward, the Canadian Press file photo, the books were cooked. The deficit numbers were false. Ford charged Tuesday of the $6.7 billion in Reading, projected for this year. Lysyk calculated the deficit at $11.7 billion because of a different treatment of pension assets. Campbell has been given a deadline of August 30 and a $50,000 paycheck for 6 weeks' work to shed a light on the shady accounting tricks and shut them down forever. Ford said Tuesday as he announced outside firms will be hired to do a line-by-line audit of government spending. The Commission will give you the answers about what went wrong and a line-by-line audit will give you the answers on how we can fix it, he said. Article continued below. The budget for both exercises, which Ford promised in the June 7 election campaign, has been set at a maximum of $1 million. Read more. Ford wades into sex education fray. Editorial: Ontario's education minister needs to fix sex education mess. Empress Flowers. Horwath clash on police oversight. Rival parties said that's a waste of money when the province employs an independent auditor like Lysyk, who issues detailed annual reports, and a financial accountability office that regularly examines public finances and measures them against political claims. They're tough, they're professional, they gave the last government a hard time. Everyone should have confidence that they're the ones who can actually do the job. New Democrat MPP Peter Torbuns told reporters, saying Lysyk is not a lapdog, she's a pit bull. Article continued. Bell of interim Liberal leader John Fraser said it appears Ford doesn't have confidence in the Auditor General. The reason that we have the Auditor General is to make government better, to make government services better, to make sure that we're spending money the right way, Fraser said. A Ford official said neither Lysyk nor the Financial Accountability Office go through the books line by line, but with a provincial budget of more than $130 billion, Torbuns said it's unlikely that government will find an accounting firm willing to do a thorough job for the amount set aside. The contract is going out to public tender, which closes August 1. If you're going to dig, use the people who are already in place, that we're already paying for. Don't spend another $1 million bringing in an outside team. Torbuns added, calling the end of summer deadline for Campbell very tight. Torbuns said he expects both reports will be engineered to set the stage for the $6 billion in spending cuts Ford promised during the spring election campaign, or even deeper restraint. He's going to want a cover for cutting things, Torbuns said. This could be the perfect cover. Finance Minister Vic Fedeli said the government is prepared for the likelihood that we might not like what we see, but unless we accurately diagnose the sickness we will not be able to prescribe the right cure. Ford would not commit to following any recommendations, saying, let's see what the report says. Campbell, who brought in a carbon tax on gasoline as BC Premier, the same type of tax Ford has railed against in Ontario as he prepares to dismantle the cap-and-trade system aimed at fighting climate change, will be assisted by highly respected forensic accountant Al Rosen and Michael Horgan, a former deputy finance minister for the federal government. They will also be paid $50,000 each. Green leader Mike Schreiner said it's ironic Ford has hired Campbell, the first premier to impose a carbon tax back in 2008. Perhaps Mr. Campbell can suggest fiscally responsible ways that Ontario can price pollution and return the revenue directly to citizens, Schreiner said. The Liberal government and the Auditor General disagreed about whether $11 billion in the government co-sponsored Ontario Public Service Employees Union pension plan and the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan could be counted toward the province's bottom line. While Auditors General had booked the pension holdings as assets starting in 2002 and stuck to that view under both progressive Conservative and Liberal governments, Lysyk changed her mind 2 years ago. Rob Ferguson is a Toronto-based reporter covering Ontario politics. Follow him on Twitter, @RobFerguson1. Robert Benzie is the Star's Queen's Park Bureau Chief and a reporter covering Ontario politics. Follow him on Twitter, @Robert